Welcome back to Module 1, Lesson 4, Transatlantic Encounter, Part 2. So Columbus has now reached the Caribbean. He didn't get to Asia, but he did encounter some lands that the Europeans had never seen before. He comes here, he goes back. 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 Well, the last trip was kind of unfortunate. He was in shackles and arrested. But he makes 4 trips to the islands. And each time he comes back, the king and the queen become more intrigued about what potential this land that they've never seen has to offer, because Columbus talks about how generous the people are. So the king and the queen said, hey, you know what? We could probably what they refer to as colonize that area. And colonize means that they're going to establish a settlement that the king and the queen of Spain are going to own. That's the parent country. Now, we are going to see colonization way more with the English and the 13 colonies in North America, but the Spanish are going to start to send people, and people are going to be willing to go across to potentially start a new life or to escape an old life in the Caribbean. So large numbers of people are going to start coming across the Atlantic Ocean and settling in these areas that the Spanish are going to or they're going to claim, because Columbus again put the flag of Spain down on numerous islands in the Caribbean. And one thing that the Europeans are going to bring with them that the local population just can't quite compete with at all levels is the weaponry. Now, one thing that the Europeans are going to bring with them are going to be guns. And those guns are going to be a little bit more powerful than the weapons that the local population or the Indians are going to have. But one thing that the Indians are going to have in their favor is that, such as the arrow, is going to be used much faster. They're going to be able to fire off multiple arrows quicker than the Europeans are going to be able to reload their guns or their rifles. But all in all, unfortunately, with the use of steel, the Europeans are going to have more effective weapons for killing. The other thing that's going to start to happen is that over time, the local population is very generous. Again, that was one of the appealing things that Columbus saw. But by 1943, a year after Columbus made his first trip here, the local population on the island of St. Croix, which is in the Virgin Islands, they're going to say, you know what, I don't think we should like this guy. I don't think that we should be giving our stuff to him and his people as willingly as we are. And so what they do is they start to revolt and they start to resist the Spanish and their methods of obtaining items. And so they resist, and their use of resistance is going to be the poison arrow. Unfortunately, the poison arrow is going to be somewhat ineffective for the Spanish, who are going to be starting to bring over with their metalware and their armor. The poison arrows are going to be less effective. And the population of the Americas is going to be drastically impacted by something that the Europeans had no idea they were bringing. And that is going to be diseases, and specifically the 4 diseases of measles, mumps, smallpox or chickenpox, smallpox and chickenpox, and typhus. Now, these 4 diseases, we really don't have a problem with anymore in North America, because you either get a vaccination for, or once you get it, you are immune from getting it again. At least that's the hope. Now, as these diseases start to impact the population that's never encountered them before, the people end up dying. You know, right now we're going through this worldwide pandemic of the coronavirus, and there are thousands of people around the world that are dying from it because they have no immunity to this. There's no vaccination for it. And so we're kind of worried, and we're wearing masks and we're social distancing, and some doing it more than others. But this is still an issue today when a new virus or a new illness starts to impact a community. So on the picture on the left, there's a guy that's wearing a biomask, and the native population in the Americas had nothing close to this type of resistance, nor did they have vaccinations. And so large numbers, as they say, potentially up to 90% of the native population in the Americas are going to die from disease that the Spanish are going to bring with them, not knowing that the Spanish were actually bringing these illnesses. Now, there's going to be some transfer of illnesses from the Americas to the Europeans, but to the extent is not as high as what the Europeans are going to bring, that is going to wipe out populations of native communities.